So here's a game from week 7 of Apex Season 6. So this is 2 weeks after Light of Genesis was released. So players like me who can only afford to pull one copy of Light of Genesis will start using her on this week. She has hit 4 stars at this point. Now of course by introducing a new character to the box, I need to remove somebody. And in this case I decided to remove Matthew. I was very sad I had to kick out Matthew because, it's hard to call it a protagonist box when you don't have the one protagonist buff in the entire game. But no worries for all you 5 Matthew fans out there, I'm sure he will be returning to the box soon enough. So here's a guy with a 3 tank box who decided to first pick a tank anyway, in this case Juggler. I didn't ban a tank first, so he was free to choose a DPS if he really wanted to. But he decided to go with Juggler, which is always a very good pick. I've crapped on Juggler before, but that's only in the context of letting him tank a lot of hits. In a vacuum, he's probably still one of the most busted characters in the game. This guy bans my 2 good Dispel healers, Rosen and Liana, and picks Bozo, so it's going to be one of those games. In situations like this, I feel like I kind of need to weigh my options and decide against going for a turtle strategy, because even with a good Dispeller like Liana, it's pretty hard to stop Bozo these days. I mean, I've shown games of mine that are like that. In those cases, I need to pick 2 or 3 Dispellers to counter just one Bozo. So in this case, I decided to actually just ban his 2 other tanks and pick Elwyn. Elwyn's decent enough at killing Juggler, but of course Juggler can bring Stone Colossus, and in this case I let my opponent get Rosen Seal, so I can't heal block him either. I only banned Liana out of his healers because this is a 3 healer box, so a 1 healer ban is sometimes enough to pressure your opponent into picking a healer. And out of the healers, I of course just didn't want to deal with Act again. So the team I end up getting is actually pretty scared of Bozo here. Almeida is like average at best at cleansing debuffs away. Yulia is terrible at dealing with Bozo. If you blow up Old Landius at the right time, he can sorta stop Bozo, but it's still kind of hard to do. So this is one of those games where I have to play keep away quite a bit. And that's made a little bit more complicated because his very first move, he gets a Tenyo Breeze on his Ares. So I have little choice but to just guard up immediately on Landius and try to move my units around a little bit so that Ares cannot reach them. Elwyn of course can get one-shot by Ares, assuming Ares manages to kill his first life, and then the AoE afterwards would take care of the second life. So my opponent is starting to creep in here with a lot of movement pressure. Zerida has prepped her 3-cost skill, so she's ready to attack. Juggler has moved up as well, and Ares of course still has his Tenyo Breeze buff. So of course the only good play I have here is to pop Old Landius' 3-cost skill and push him back. Thankfully the Tenyo Breeze buff on Ares only lasts 2 turns, so I don't need to worry about that anymore. So now I can try to inch a little bit closer with Elwyn. The big issue of course is finding a good target for Elwyn. Elwyn can't do as much to this Juggler because it is a Juggler with Stone Colossus. But because his Triton is about to wear off, it kind of forces my opponent to position in a very specific way. He has to do a cross formation around Juggler, or at least close to it. I mean, he runs Zerida back, so it's actually a T-shape. But whatever the case, I don't have a lot of moves to do here. Because his Bozo brought Crystal Warlocks, he is able to reach me next turn already. So I feel like there isn't a lot of options for me at this point. I can only charge in with Elwyn and try to put some pressure on him, and maybe make him reconsider attacking me next turn. I do make a mistake here because I'm too impatient. I should have moved Yulia first before charging in Elwyn, because that way he would have to waste his first move next turn on Juggler jumping rather than getting to do it right here. So here comes the black hole from Bozo. And I feel like situations like this show that he's not only annoying to play against, but he's also kind of annoying to play as, because just about the only good debuff he rolls here is a Moby Down on my Landius. He rolls 1 heal block and it's on Almeida. He doesn't roll any silences, and he gets a couple like stat and damage debuffs. I mean, I think the key one here really is that he didn't get a silence on my Almeida, so Almeida can immediately just remove 2 debuffs here by using Mass Heal. Like I said, he did roll Mobility Down on Landius, so he tries to go for a KO on my Yulia, but my Yulia manages to counter for a decent bit of damage, so she's able to heal up enough to not get killed by Ares. And of course, since Landius was not hit by Noble Charge, he didn't lose any buffs, so he still has the move again blocking aura. So Ares is stuck here now. Thanks to the old Landius tiles, he actually can't move up his Juggler far enough to guard his 2 units here. My units decide to disappoint me over and over and keep failing to kill Bozo. But finally Landius decides to finish the job, and with Bozo out of the picture, it makes things a lot easier for me. The B-Shock here kills Elwyn, so since Elwyn can't move, he can't actually heal up and attack. But thankfully this is right as the cooldown for his faction buff ended, so I can refresh the faction buff on Yulia, and that should keep her buffed enough to get to the end of the match. So now I have 2 magic DPS, Old Landius and Yulia, and they're both still pretty healthy. and both of them have a revive. And of course this is one of the problems with using Juggler. Unless you bring his Great Dragon Barrier skill, he runs out of his magic guard very quickly, and magic units are going to give you a harder time the longer the fight goes on. So yeah, I think situations like this is why you don't see some people going for the Van Liana pick Bozo strategy super often. More often than not, it does work, but sometimes stuff like this happens where the black hole just ends up not doing very much at all.